My name is Tracy. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety day is April 3rd, 2011. Got sober when I was 37 years old in Los Angeles, California, and I live in Washington, D.C. now. The Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, I believe, right? There's drugs in my story, so I like to be respectful of where I'm at. It was hard to separate those two because I would melt my meth in a spoon with rum and shoot up rum and meth together, right? So it's kind of drugs, alcohol, whatever. I put it in me, right? I quit doing meth on my own. I was very proud of it, and the way I did that is I went to the bar every single day after like an extreme moment where I was like, I came to a realization I had to quit. And I'd be at the bar drunk off my ass telling people I was sober because I wasn't shooting dope. I didn't know what it meant to be sober. I didn't know what was going on at Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, everybody drank. All my family drank. As a matter of fact, I had that wrapped up in what it meant to be a man, like being able to handle my alcohol, which I never did. I mean, I was always just belligerently drunk, puking. It was always an ugly thing. I want to tell more of what happened and what it's like now than what it was like, but I want you all to know that I definitely abused both drugs and alcohol. And at the very end, I was going to kill myself. I was going to the bar every day, and I was great at the bar. Everything was fine with my friends, singing, dancing, taking shots. But at home, before passing out, I would be a dark thing inside of me, like a black hole inside of me that was guilt and shame, loneliness, despair, everything darker and bigger than me. And it was just like overwhelming. And then I'd pass out and I'd get up and go back to the bar and drink that away and happy and go lucky. And the next night, and then the night, it would be again that dark thing that was bigger than me. And it got so big that I couldn't stand it anymore. And I didn't know how to make it stop other than to kill myself. That was the only thing I could think of to make it stop. And that's what I was going to do. I was getting that in order. I had everything kind of set up. But meanwhile, I had gotten in trouble with the law for some drugs. Police officer had pulled me over in Los Angeles after following me from my house because I was selling drugs, and they were watching the place, and they didn't have anything on me but bird thumbs and rapid speech. And I fought the case, and I was in the courtroom saying not guilty because they didn't have the blood test. They didn't have anything. I know my rights. God damn it. You know it. So, but finally they wore me down, and I took a diversion program where they say go to 20 AA meetings and 20 treatment center things. And then they would drop the charges. It's like, fine, I just don't want to come back to this courtroom again. So I took that program, and I was going to my AA meetings on Sunday. I chose, back then all the meetings were an hour and a half, and they were in person. I didn't want to go. There was a place that I found that had an hour meeting, and there was a bar in the parking lot so that I could get my court card signed, go straight to the bar next door without even getting in my car, get my Jaeger bomb and my Jameson on the rocks, drink that, go home, take a nap, and then go back to my regular bar. And that was what I did on Sundays. But on the Sunday, April 3rd, 2011, the night before, Saturday, I stayed out late drinking with the buddy. It was part of my thing. I was saying goodbye to him. He didn't know it, but I was saying goodbye to my best friend. It was like the last night with my best friend before I was going to kill myself. And at night, my van got towed away because I parked in somebody's driveway on that because I was drunk, and got it out of impound, and just a creature of habit. It was Sunday. Even though I'm going to kill myself, I'm a creature of habit. I just kind of go on autopilot. And it was Sunday. Sunday, I go to this meeting. I went to that meeting, and that day I heard something, and I asked somebody, and for the conversation's sake, I mean, how do you make this pain stop? I heard them telling stories of way worse stories than mine. And like, they were happy. They were talking about things I was ashamed for them. Like, oh my God, how did you say that out loud? And I had so much shame and guilt that I was going to kill myself, but they were free. And so I asked somebody, how do you make the pain stop? And he didn't answer my question. He asked me a question. He said, have you stopped drinking? And I was like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Of course I haven't stopped drinking. I'm probably reeking of alcohol. I just come from picking my van out of the impound yard from drinking till like 4 o'clock in the morning the night before. I was probably still drunk. And when I'm drinking, I was having a good time. At the bar, everything's fine. It's when I'm home alone without the alcohol that I wanted to die. So this made no sense to me. Stop drinking. But I was literally going to kill myself in a matter of days or hours to make the pain stop. And here this person was asking me this silly question. And I thought, I don't want to die. I just want to make the pain stop. And here's a person saying, maybe I should try this. These people have something. Something's going on here. These people are not miserable, and they've been through what I've been through or worse. So maybe I should give this a try. Run the experiment, I like to say, because I like evidence. The God thing, great thing about AA, the God thing doesn't have to come with the faith like, just believe us. Like, no, you can test it. Just give it a try. See what happens. And that's kind of what I did. The way I stopped drinking was just like a creature of habit. I slept until 11:30, went to a noon meeting, a noon NA meeting, because I knew I had a drug problem, but I didn't know I was an alcoholic. I was just doing what they told me to do. And then I'd go to get lunch, and I'd go to 3 o'clock AA meeting. And I'd go home and take a nap, and I'd go to 8 o'clock AA meeting. And that's what I did. I was selling drugs in that time. I didn't have a job. So I just did this all day long, just like I went to the bar, because I would go to the bar at noon, eat at the bar, go home and take a nap, and come back at night and drink with the younger crowd, because the older crowd was in the morning and then the younger crowd in the night, stay after until it closed. And that was just my life, this repeated like Groundhog's Day. So one Sunday I went to this meeting and found out that I could give this a try. And I got sober with this creature habit. I went to a noon NA meeting, 3 o'clock AA meeting, 8 o'clock AA meeting. And then I just went to the same one I went to last Monday, same one I went to on last Tuesday. And people started to recognize me. I'd wipe the table so I didn't feel so awkward and out of place. I noticed that at that point, when I was doing the drugs, it wasn't feeling good anymore. It was just making me feel less miserable. And if something made me feel less miserable, that's how bad it was. It didn't have to make me feel good for me to want more of it, just less miserable, and I wanted more of it. And here was this thing in AA that was making me feel less miserable. Everything they told me to do that I tried made me feel either less miserable or good. So I wanted more of it. And I'd go back and say, what do I got to do now? What do I do now? And they'd say, go to this men's stag meeting. And I was like, okay, I'll go to that men's, go to this, get this, here's your sponsor. Okay, do these steps. Okay, I just took the commitments. I did everything they told me, and I felt less miserable, and things got really good. After 3 months, I got a job. And then my problem was trying to fit in work with meetings and trying to balance that. The job went really well, and I had it for 2 years. And backing up, I mean, in the beginning, they told me to pray, and I didn't want to pray to God. I believed in God, but I was mad at God. God had done all these terrible things to me in my mind. And I forgot why I was mad at this God thing, but I mean, I wasn't going to talk to it. But I was so desperate to kill myself, to die, to make the pain stop, that I would do anything. So I just, in the morning, I said, please help me stay sober. And at night, thank you. And when I washed my hands, I would be grateful for warm water. Something from growing up in poverty, maybe, like just being grateful for warm running water. And I noticed right off the bat, little things like letting people over in traffic. Like, that was new. I wasn't so high strung about things. And I didn't want to die at night. Like, things were getting better. So fast forward, I had that job for 2.5 years. Well, before that, about a year into sobriety, I noticed that my vision was fading pretty quickly. And I'd always had really thick glasses. My mom knew I needed glasses when I was running into car doors at like 3 years old. And I had really thick glasses. And by this time, I'm losing my vision. And my eye doctor said, I can't give you stronger glasses. I'm like, I'm sober and I'm going to go blind. I mean, what the hell? But I still have this job where I'm driving trucks and, I'm just kind of trying to get by. And one of the insurance companies does a background check on all the employees, and they find my former DUI, my speeding tickets. And my boss came to me and said, we love you. You're one of our best employees, but we have to let you go because the insurance company won't cover you. So basically, you're unemployable. And I had just gotten a 401k. I had just gotten insurance. And the boss said, he knows that I got this eye thing. And he's like, I want you to go see a doctor. I'm not going to inform the insurance company just yet. So go see the doctors, use up the insurance while you can. And I went to the eye doctor, to the medical doctor, thinking, maybe I got like diabetes or syphilis, something that causes blindness, some medical reason, right? But they say everything's fine there, but they sent me to an eye surgeon. They said that I had cataracts. I was 39 years old. It's incredibly young to have cataracts, but not totally unheard of. But they have a surgery for that. The insurance is going to cover it. So I'm like stoked. Thank you, God. You're going to give me this miracle of science. But, I'm losing my job. I'm losing my eyesight. And I thought life could never get worse than when I wanted to die in 2011. I was so miserable I wanted to die. I thought life could never get worse than this. The truth is, at least my truth, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but life is hard. Life is hard. It kicks you in the face when you're down. It'll kick you down. It'll kick you when you're down. That's just what it does, right? But I had no way to deal with that when I was drinking and using. But when I got sober, in that 2 years, before I lost my job and started to lose my vision, I did the steps. I got a sponsor. I got commitments. I learned how to be a part of the membership, the fellowship. And when the bad things started happening, I was prepared for it. I didn't know I was getting prepared. It's kind of like that Karate Kid where they, paint the fence, wax the car. And then when life started swinging, I was like, oh, I kind of had something prepare me for it. Went in to have that surgery, and the doctor blinded me in my right eye. That surgery went badly. He tore the iris, ruptured the vitreous. I was blind in my right eye, cataracts in the left. So it got worse. And I spent the next year blind, disabled. I couldn't drive. I couldn't work. I couldn't, like, I had to hold my phone right up to my face. People drove me to meetings, drove me to doctor's appointments. People came up and cooked for me. I was dependent for a year at 39 years old. And I'm a very independent alcoholic. Like, I will do it myself. I'm fine. Like, I'm literally holding my phone like this. I'm fine. I'm fine. Nothing wrong with me. Can't tell you there's something wrong with me. I can't ask for help. I can't admit that, I'm not okay. Even though 2 years before I asked for help, but now, once again, I'm too proud to ask for help. But they helped me anyways. They helped me anyways. Alcoholics Anonymous helped me. You people helped me anyways, right? A year later, that same doctor said, hey, well, we were waiting to see if it was going to get any better. It's not. We could do a surgery on your left eye. At least you have your left eye work. I was like, thanks, doc. And I went to a different doctor because I wasn't going to let him cut me again. And the new doctor did a great job on my left eye. I got pretty good vision out of my left eye. That's enough to do the trick. But my iris was torn on my right eye. I couldn't see to go outside. That light was so bright, both my eyes were clamped shut. So, I'm pretty hopeless. There's a hopelessness in this year, right? There was hopelessness when I got fired, and there was a little bit of hope when I got that surgery. Then there was more hopelessness for the year. And there was a lot of hopelessness in sobriety. There was way worse than the stuff that I was going through when I was drinking and using, and Alcoholics Anonymous got me through it. And that's why I want to hurry past the drunkalog so I can get to this to tell you that you get through things in Alcoholics Anonymous. You get through things that are going to happen because life is hard. Life is going to be hard. It's not going to get easier. The drinking thing is going to get easier. I don't think about drinking. The reason why I stay sober is more so that I can help people. I don't want to lose that ability to be a member of AA. I don't even think about drinking anymore. That's been removed from me. The iris is torn. I can't go outside, right? So I call up a spot in UCLA looking for hope, looking for some sort of solution, asking if they're doing any studies or anything like that. And I found a doctor who was doing a clinical trial where they would implant a prosthetic iris into your eye. I'm like, clinical trial? That sounds great. I see them on TV all the time. They're going to pay you to do the procedure, right? Sweet. I call them up. They're like, yeah, come on down. It's $500 to find out if you qualify. I'm like, I got to pay you $500? Yeah. I'm disabled. I'm getting some disability, thank God, because the job before was pretty good that I had for the 2 years. But I can't afford $500 to do this test just to see if you qualify. And at my home group, we would go and set up before the meeting, and we would go eat and then come back to the meeting. And a group of guys were always there. And I just keeping them, they're driving me, they're doing everything. So I'm telling them what's going on. I'm telling them about this thing. And this guy who's living in a sober living, he's got time, but he's living in a sober living. He's a construction worker. He doesn't have a lot of money. He says, I'll give you the $500. And I was like, really touched. Thank you so much. Sincerely. I'm too proud. I can't let you help me. No, thank you, but no. And I went and told my sponsor, because he knows the guy. I was like, can you believe how nice this guy was? And my sponsor immediately turned it on me. Like, what defective character do you think that is? I was like, what? Me? What are you blaming me for? I didn't do anything wrong. But I'm too proud to let these people help me. People in Alcoholics Anonymous are built for helping people. That's what we do here. And I'm not going to let him help me. And I think about this now, there's a lot of newcomers that you come in and me, when I needed help and I said, how did you make the pain stop? He didn't tell me some magic thing. He said, did you stop drinking? His solution wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was what I needed to do. And my sponsor didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. He told me what I needed to hear, what I needed to do, not what I wanted to do, what I needed to do. And that was to let people help me. And so this guy gave me the $500 and I went in and they said, you're the perfect candidate for this procedure. It was $13,000 to do it. I didn't have 500. I ain't got 13,000. But thanks for the information. I feel good knowing that there's an option. A little bit of hope goes a long ways when you're drowning. When you're drowning in hopelessness, you're in the middle of the ocean and you're just trying to tread water. Sometimes just catching your breath will get you a little bit longer. You're still in the middle of the ocean, but you're going to last a little longer, right? So knowing that surgery was there was like a little bit of hope that would make me last a little longer. And so I went in back to my home group and I'm telling those guys about being the perfect candidate. Thanks for the money. And a couple of days later, one of my friends calls me. He says, hey, I know you're too proud to let people help you, but just say yes to this. And my sponsor had already shamed me into saying no. So I said yes. And what he did was went down to Costco and bought some frozen hamburgers and some buns and some fixings for hamburgers and kind of spread the word amongst people in AA and did this thing in the park where it was a suggested donation of $10 a burger. And about 100 people showed up and he raised $3,000 that day. There was a catering company that donated the chairs and tables and they saw what was going on and they did a breakfast and raised like $1,500. And my friend started a GoFundMe that people started donating to, not just AA, but people like friends and family, and people would hand me money and I don't want it. I mean, maybe you like are okay with people handing you money. Like, I don't, it's cool, give me money, but I'm too proud. I don't want it. No, thank you. Keep your money. I'm fine. I'm fine. My sponsor said, just say thank you and put it in your pocket. And today I use that in compliments. When people say something nice to me and I don't believe it, thank you. And I put it in my pocket. Thank you. Put it in my pocket. And they raised $10,000. And the doctor let me make $3,000 of payments on the rest of the surgery afterwards. And I had that surgery. And today I've got this prosthetic eye in my prosthetic iris in my right eye. So that if you see me right now, my pupils will be 2 different sizes, but I can go outside now without my eyes clamping shut. And when I got my vision back, I realized I didn't want to squander this gift, right? Like, I'm so grateful to be able to see. And I went down to the local community college and signed up for a couple of classes, political science and history class, just to kind of learn, because I wasn't able to, didn't want to go back to that 16-hour a day job where I would go months without a day off. I went and did 2 classes and really enjoyed it, did really well. Signed up for a second set of classes. During that second semester, I got a phone call and said, your dad's dying, you better come up here to Oregon. I was in California. And I was in the middle of class. I was like, what am I going to fail class? I got to go, but what do I do? But you guys taught me, ask for help. And I asked a couple of professors, I told them, what can you do? What can I do? And they made all kinds of arrangements. One professor met me. I got in my car and packed for the road trip up the 5 to Oregon from California, and stopped at a coffee shop, took a final for like 2 hours, got in my car directly to Oregon, like en route. The professor met me in a coffee shop to take the exam. When my dad was dying, I got to be there for like 11 days, and I got to be there because of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, sad things before, I would just drink and like hide out back, and I would not be there when you were dying. I would not be there when you needed me. I was not a member of the family. I was not a member of anything. I was just me and what I needed. But I got to be there. And I sat at his bedside for 11 days. I was there the day he died. And he said something to me because he was a drug addict too. He was a junkie too. And he stopped doing meth about 6 months before he died. And he said to me, this is bullshit, that I'm dying after I stopped doing drugs. And he might have been, I would have kept getting high if I'd known I was going to die. But, you know, either way, what I realized, I'm sober like 3 years at that point, and I'm not going to squander this gift. I did not get sober to die. I didn't get sober to die. I hear people say, like here in DC, they say, I didn't get sober to stay in a church basement. Like being in AA is good, but we got to go out in the world and do something with this thing, right? What am I going to do to show that I'm grateful for the gift that God has given me? If I just sit and squander this and piss off my life, how grateful can I possibly be? I looked at my father and I thought, he is me dying, because I should have died 2 years before, and I am him living. And I try to live in that spirit, like to live on the life that he could have lived if he had been sober. I went back to the community college and said, because I didn't try to get degrees, I was just trying to do something new. I said, what do I got to do to get degrees? And they told me how to take some extra classes and keep doing the stuff I was loving, the political science and history. And I graduated from community college with 4.0, transferred to the state school. I passed over the thing when I was blind. I got a new sponsor who taught me how to sponsor other people. And I learned to sponsor in 2 years, where my sponsees were reading to me, right? So we were in the book together, and I couldn't see, but I could sponsor. They couldn't sponsor, but they could see. And we were helping each other, right? This is how AA works. We help each other. And it really was apparent to me how this thing works. God showed me. I thought I was going to get this miracle of science with that surgery. And what I got was a miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous. You don't even have to believe in God. I'm an agnostic. I want proof, right? The book talks about this power that brings men and women back from the gates of death that's here in Alcoholics Anonymous. I was at the gate of death, and something happened in the rooms that brought me back. And whatever that is, that's the power that I call my God. It doesn't need to be a mystical, religious thing, but something, you're here today and not out drinking. Something did that. That's power. And that's the power that got me through the blindness, through my dad dying, through several other deaths. And then I got to graduate from Cal State Northridge with 2 bachelor's degrees with 4.0 cumulative GPA. And I just did it because of gratitude. I did my homework because it was gratitude. I read the textbook because it was gratitude. And the whole time I sponsored people, went to meetings all the time, like was very active, giving back, because that's what AA taught me. I did it with gratitude. I spent a year during the pandemic studying for the LSAT, and I got a really good number. And I told this story in my applications. At the time, I was like, I'm 10 years sober. My life was spared by Alcoholics Anonymous because I want them to accept not Tracy with the 4.0, but Tracy with the sobriety. Because if they accept Tracy with the sobriety, they accept all of you because we're doing this together. So all these things that I'm doing, and a lot of times it might sound like, ooh, 4.0, law school, like I'm bragging about Tracy. But I want to be clear that I'm bragging about Alcoholics Anonymous. Because Alcoholics Anonymous is what made it possible. Tracy squandered his entire life. But Alcoholics Anonymous, the God, took that mess that I made and turned it into something wonderful, something beautiful. So now I'm at Georgetown Law School. I'm just average there, but like average at Georgetown is pretty cool. I'm going to be a 50-year-old attorney. I'm 48 now. I'm going to be 50 years old when I'm an attorney. It's never too late to make a new start. Wherever you're at, it is not too late, too early. You can do this if you ask for help. Not just ask for help, but let them help you the way that you need to be helped, not the way you want to be helped. No, not like that. Just follow direction, run the experiment, do the steps the way they're designed, do something the way the sponsor's giving you direction, take direction, humble it myself. That's what I had to do. And I've been given way more than I deserve. It's work. God doesn't wash windows. We're in the efforts business. We have to make an effort, but the results are just amazing. And you can have whatever you want. I don't know what your law school is. And that means to say, it doesn't have to be school at all, right? Whatever your dream is, whatever it is you think you want to do, you start it today with that. I didn't get sober to die. And that means today I'm going to do something towards making my life better tomorrow. And you put those days together, and there's a guy in my back home that he said, I heard him say it. This is a funny part. At 1 year sober, I heard him say this in a meeting. He said, you can be a 50-year-old attorney or you can be a 50-year-old milkman. It depends on what you start today, right? Milkman being if that's what you were already. You can be whatever you are right now, or you can be a 50-year-old attorney. And I'm literally going to be a 50-year-old attorney 10 years later after he said that, right? Like, it's just Alcoholics Anonymous, God, it's like this beautiful, wonderful thing. I'm sure I'm leaving stuff out, but I hope that you find wherever you're at, newcomers, there is hope here. It doesn't seem like that. And maybe it's just going to catch your breath in the middle of the ocean. You can go a little bit longer, but we're here in a boat trying to get you to get in. Get in the boat with us. Get in the boat with us.